Two major industry shakeups are in the works. A wild Rive unicorn appears, and the best-sell animation software just got way better. It's Motion Mondays, and Hanukkah's coming up.
School of Motion presents the brand new course, Hanukkah for Motion. 8 nights of Maccabi-level motion design training. We're talking 3D latkes, cradle simulations, and all the guilt you can stomach. Live online for 8 nights straight, starting this Sunday.
Everyone's wondering, how's the motion design economy doing? We've been running our own informal surveys, and we'll dig deep into those in 2 weeks when our end-of-the-year podcast drops. But in the meantime, check out the Dash survey. Mac Garrison, co-founder of Dash Studio, posted on LinkedIn asking people to weigh in on the state of the industry, and 325 people actually responded. The results matched pretty closely with our own research. Here's the big slide. How was your workload this past year? The vast majority had average or above average years, and a few even had their best year ever. Only a minority reported below average or their slowest year. This matches what we've heard. 2025 was better than 2024, and most stayed busy. Not amazing, but definitely improved. And here's the kicker. The biggest challenge facing the industry isn't AI, though that is a factor. It's budget cuts and economic uncertainty. The link is in the description. Time for a quick School of Motion news roundup. Our UX Animation Essentials course is launching today inside All Access. It's your gateway into the world of product, web, and app animation, an enormous growth area for motion design right now. It's taught by Ivan Witteborg, who walks you through the foundational principles, covers tools like Figma, Protopie, and Rive, then walks you step by step through a real-world project. This course pairs very nicely with Rive Academy Volumes 1 and 2, and we'll be focusing a lot more on this cutting-edge area in 2026. We now have over 3,000 all-access members worldwide, and our teaching assistants have critiqued nearly 14,000 projects since the beginning of the year. Last week, all-access members got to attend a live workshop from Audrey Havey going into the world of motion design for video games and esports. That replay is available inside the community. And our last portfolio review of the year is this Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and the 12 Days of MoGraph contest ends this Friday. It's free to sign up, and every day we pick a winner who gets a sweet prize from one of our awesome sponsors. Info and links in the description. We're going to talk about a couple of huge industry shakeups, and the first one is gigantic. Omnicom, an enormous ad agency holding group, is acquiring Interpublic Group, making them the largest ad agency holding group on Earth, with $25 billion in annual revenue. Now, the lead that Omnicom tried to bury is that they're also laying off over 4,000 employees and folding 3 legacy agencies, MullenLowe, FCB, and DDB, into existing agencies. I used to work with MullenLowe back in my Boston days, and that one really bums me out. In the ad agency world, DDB going down is the equivalent of the mill closing. They've been around since 1949. Here's the big takeaway for us. Modern brands are leaning into design and animation systems, looking to operate leaner. Ad agencies are typically set up to provide ongoing, expensive services requiring tons of people and layers of coordination. When you have a project manager, producer, line producer, and junior producer all billing hours on the same thing, those coordination costs add up. I think that this will do what's happened before. Creatives will start smaller niche shops that operate leaner, and artists who learn tools like Cavalry, Rive, Templater, and yes, AI, can take advantage by going brand direct or working with emerging boutique agencies looking for efficient partners to work with. So, to everyone impacted, I hope you land on your feet quickly. Here is much happier news. Procreate Dreams 2 has launched. We covered the first version back in 2023 and I was blown away, but the Procreate team didn't just make an incremental update, they created an entirely new animation engine. This is almost a new app. Key updates include a totally redesigned timeline with new modes, multi-select, and faster editing. They launched a new animation brushes library designed by Kyle Webster and his team, tuned for motion and cell work so line quality and texture stay consistent during playback. There's a rebuilt flipbook that's simpler and faster. You can now assign your own keyboard shortcuts, and there are advanced export options. The timing seems really good. I think there's a countervailing force against a lot of AI work. There's a focus on authenticity and the human hand. There's no form of animation that embodies this better than hand-drawn animation, and I really admire Procreate's dedication to the artist. And just to make you smile even more, it's $13 on the Apple App Store. Our buddy, Good Boy Ninja, has launched a new color management tool for After Effects called Swatches. And like most tools he releases, it's really innovating on the UI. You can sample colors from any layer in your composition, build your own libraries, and even import libraries from colors and other palette generators. You can lock palettes, great if you have brand colors you want to make sure never change. You can share palettes with coworkers and clients. It can automatically extract colors from any image. It's really full-featured but very simple, and it's only $25 with a 14-day money-back guarantee. Link in the description. Time to feature some great work from around the internet. First up, VUCKO created a very large design system complete with motion for Google Cloud Summit that could work all over the globe in multiple languages. The thing I love about VUCKO's work is they take very simple designs but make them so elegant and well thought out. It's deceptively simple. You're not wondering how they did it, it's about the level of taste and thoughtfulness. When I was talking about building motion design systems, this is what I'm talking about. Next up, Scholar worked on their largest holiday campaign to date for Target with over 30 unique spots spanning from in-store to Times Square. The hero spot features a vibrant world of 3D characters with snow simulations, gorgeous lighting, and impeccable design. Next up, hat tip to Ryan Plummer, who sent us this piece from an artist who goes by Une. They created a personal project called Sync that was done entirely in Cavalry. Certain types of animation, effects, and masking can be built in Cavalry in far fewer steps than After Effects. Both tools have their strengths, but Cavalry is really starting to show its powers, and I believe 2026 will be its breakthrough year. Finally, check out the 2025 Motion Awards winners announced by Motionographer. One of my favorites was the In the Arena Serena Williams title sequence from Religion of Sports. Beautiful design with lots of little compositing details. It's Schadenfreude time.
Nothing tastes more delicious than Schadenfreude.
McDonald's Netherlands launched an AI-generated Christmas spot. I guess they didn't learn from the Coke holiday spot debacle. You're not gonna believe this, but the internet hated it. So much so that the video has been taken down from official channels. Now, here's my take. I really don't think the average person hates these things just because AI was used. Sure, that's part of it, but I think they hate them because they just feel wrong. They feel like some uncanny valley version of humans in a video. The overall idea is fine, I guess. Holidays are hard, so let McDonald's make you happy. But in almost every shot, there are just 1,000 little micro details that just don't really work because humans didn't make those little micro decisions. The nuances and taste just aren't there. Just because a shot looks like Santa in a sleigh doesn't mean it's a good version of that shot. So until AI gives real artists actual control over all those little micro details, I think it's gonna be very hard to create big budget spots that land emotionally. I'm sure that you have thoughts though. Please leave a comment. More gigantic business news. Netflix announced it will be acquiring Warner Brothers. Holy crap. Warner Brothers has this amazing library that Netflix wants. HBO, DC Entertainment, CNN, Discovery Networks. Netflix actually didn't want everything, just some parts. Then a curveball. Paramount launched a hostile takeover bid, challenging Netflix's $72 billion offer with close to $78 billion. So now you've got two behemoths fighting over Warner Brothers. For motion designers in the short term, there are so many brands wrapped up in this that will have enormous uncertainty. Unfortunately, that means lots of work could get postponed. Hostile bids and rerun sales processes take months, if not a year or more, and marketing and title work often gets paused or rebriefed. Depending on who prevails, priorities may shift. Netflix leans into promos and UI motion standards, whereas Paramount is more traditional with separation between channel packages, trailers, and broadcast graphics. In the medium to long term, there's probably going to be quite a bit of work once this settles, and we will keep you posted. Motion designer Eric Deci dropped an unexpected banger. He worked on the original Stranger Things title sequence back in 2015, and for the first time ever, he broke down the entire process inside After Effects. This isn't teaching you some clever trick. This man is teaching you the nitty-gritty detail stuff that you almost never learn in a tutorial because it doesn't get the clicks, but in the real world, this is what makes stuff look really good. The Stranger Things title sequence is extremely simple, letters slowly coming together. What makes it work is the compositing. Eric walks you through stacking multiple instances of Trapcode Shine using the After Effects default glow, because some of the best glow plugins weren't around in 2015. Subtle grain, light flashes, clever layer stacking, multiple copies of a layer masked just so to create an almost 3D lighting effect out of a 2D layer. Big takeaways. You can do so much with default tools if you know how image processing works. Taste beats tool chasing. The details really matter, especially in close-ups, and finishing your piece with compositing, levels, glow, thresholds, subtle vignettes. These little things do so much heavy lifting, especially in this piece. Thank you so much, Eric. Time to feature our School of Motion Student of the Week, Ameena Barakeh from Lebanon, a freelance motion designer and all-access member. Ameena is a hustler. She's working on so many different skills, 2D, 3D, and illustration. She's really turning into a formidable generalist. She recently completed the Pump Up the Volume assignment from Cinema 4D Ascent, where students texture and light a scene to look like a high-end product shot. Look what Ameena came up with. This is awesome. In 3D, lighting is kind of everything, and Ameena made really good use of it. She also told us that our courses don't only get you comfortable with the software, they teach you the rules of design and what makes design look good, and that Warms my heart because that is the whole point of School of Motion. Ameena, amazing stuff. Insydium, the makers of many amazing Cinema 4D tools, have launched a new one as part of their fused package called Jidou. It's a set of tools that let you do a lot of things procedurally in Cinema 4D in a really intuitive interface that will save you from having to go into Espresso as much. If you've ever used the set-driven functions in Cinema 4D, this is kind of like that on steroids, or if you've used Grayscale Gorilla Signal, this is a more powerful version. In their hour-long demo, they show how you can create really complicated rigs using this simple interface and expose all the controls you want in one place. You can use noise to drive parameters. They built a great camera tool called JD FlowCam that lets you place camera keyframes and smoothly transition between them. You can buy it as part of their fused complete package, or Jidou by itself is only 100 British pounds and it looks insanely useful. Last week, the $20,000 challenge hosted by Rive and Contra concluded. In a live stream I got to be a part of, third place went to an incredible website prototype done completely in Rive. Second place went to Leo Mazzi, who built an entire heads-up display UI system for a fictional game. And the winner was Afeez Yunus, who I think might be the most multi-talented interaction designer I've ever seen. For his entry, he designed, animated, and did all the data binding and logic for a full-blown multiplayer game with a computer player inside of Rive. The entire thing was done in Rive, and what he said only took him 4 days. If you watch the replay, you'll see me tell him probably 3 or 4 times that I think he's a genius and a unicorn. Afeez is the model of a modern motion designer working in the interaction space. This is the level of power available if you learn these tools and step out of your comfort zone. Both Photoshop and Figma announced new AI features. Are they all that they've been chalked up to be? First, Adobe integrated Photoshop into ChatGPT. Yes, you can enable it in settings, upload an image, and ask it to do things. I tried getting it to cut out a photo of the brilliant Questlove, and the result was terrible. Then I asked it to generate a cool background, and it didn't do what I wanted. My take? Interesting idea, maybe, but if you know Photoshop, this is not faster. Figma also announced cool AI features too. In the marketing video, they show isolating objects in an image, filling in the background, and then moving elements around. I tried it with a low-res desk image. The Extend tool did a pretty good job. Then I tried selecting the coffee cup and moving it. The Isolate button figures out what you're selecting, makes it its own layer, and fills in the background, though it couldn't remove the shadow. I could move the coffee cup, then erase the shadow and add a contact shadow, but that wasn't great either. I also tried boosting the resolution, but it added some very weird artifacts, so I'm giving this one a C for now. My big takeaway, these big companies make a huge deal out of things with cherry-picked demos where things look insanely useful, but when professionals actually try them, they almost never work as well as promoted. There are some AI tools I've tried recently that have blown my mind, but stuff like this I'm kind of skeptical about. But I'd love to know what you think. Please leave a comment below. And that is it for this final 2025 episode of Motion Mondays. Next week, our alumni holiday card launches, and the following week, our end-of-year podcast drops. This year, it is the longest ever by quite a bit. Don't forget, UX Animation Essentials launched today on our All Access platform. All Access members don't miss our last portfolio review of the year this Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and sign up for the 12 Days of MoGraph, which ends this Friday. Every day, you have a chance to win something awesome, and it's free to enter. May fortune smile upon you, and thank you so much for watching Motion Mondays. This show will be back on January 5th for the first episode of 2026. Happy holidays, and Happy New Year.